Hello and welcome to Florida's Community Action Network Emergency Response Preparedness webinar presented by the Florida Department of Economic Opportunity. I am Allison, the Deputy Director of External Affairs here at DEO, and I will be today. There will be a question and answer period at the end of this presentation. If you have any questions, please enter them into the chat feature throughout the presentation, and our speakers will try to answer as many as they can at the end. This presentation, along with the contact information of the speakers, will be emailed to everyone after the webinar. If you think of a question after today's webinar, please email one of our speakers. I want to thank you all for joining us today. And before we get started, Secretary Dane Eagle has a few opening remarks.
Thank you, Allison, and thank you all. I want to start by first thanking you all for what you do for the citizens of respective communities, your partnership with DEO, and helping infuse federal grants in communities. You guys have been crucial in what we do, and of course the mission of DEO, but also the community action statewide in your respective communities. Since I've wanted to do this today, not only to thank you and to talk about our ongoing mission and collaboration, but also with hurricane season upon us, we felt it ever more important to have this discussion to reestablish, to talk about expectations and about what happens there is a storm, which we're in Florida, there likely will be. We've already had one named storm this hurricane season. We're not even a month in. But since I've started, week one, Hurricane Sally hit the Panhandle and got to work closely with some of your folks in the Panhandle as you worked in the community and helped those in need. We're at the side when that happened, and earlier this year, you were responding across the state. So we thank you. Governor DeSantis thanks you. We appreciate the work that you do. And as these storms do hit, which they will, we want to make sure that we're ready to respond on notice or during and after the storm. Help those in need. We'll be ready to work with you. We're excited about that opportunity to serve those who need our help. And without further ado, I want to turn it over to the experts. We talk to you further. My line is always open to you, and we look forward to assisting. Next, I'm going to turn over to Deputy Secretary Ben Melnick, who you got to see at your annual conference earlier this year, and he's going to introduce the others and lead the webinar from here. Thank you all for your time. Ben?
Thank you, Secretary Eagle. Good morning, everyone, and thank you, and it's great to have good participation. It's very important to us. As we said it well, it's critical for Florida. We can't thank you enough. But before I begin, I want to introduce the department's chief of the Bureau of Economic Self-Sufficiency, Debbie Smiley, whom I'm sure many of you know quite well. I'm proud to be alongside Debbie for this call to action. Now let's start today's webinar with discussing preparation for emergency response. Low-income families and communities often suffer disproportionately from disasters. They often have adequate resources to prepare for and recover from disasters, such as the funds to board up their homes, cars to evacuate, or places to stay if they must leave their homes. With fewer assets, little insurance, and less diversified income sources, families that are already struggling can be pushed into destitution when disaster strikes. One of our key messages today is that it is not only the Federal Emergency Management Agency, known as FEMA, that provides disaster relief funding streams. Some of our federal agency partners also assist in disasters, such as U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, known as HUD, U.S. Department of Labor, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, the U.S. Small Business Administration, and the U.S. Economic Development Administration. The Florida Community Action Network is now being called upon to join the wider efforts of preparedness, response, and recovery. As an organization, it is important that we not only be prepared for emergencies, but that we ensure that our preparedness, response, and recovery efforts are inclusive and address the needs of the whole community. When disasters happen, the ineffectiveness of response depends very heavily on local organizations that represent those most impacted and most vulnerable. CAAs are deeply connected to the community and are able to quickly assess and meet unique local needs. The infrastructure and connectivity embedded in the Community Action Network is vital in times of crisis. Florida's statewide network of CAAs provides the opportunity to deploy much needed assistance quickly. CAAs regularly conduct assessments of community needs and resources and update priority needs as shifts occur. Although CAAs conduct full assessments every 3 years, these rapid updates are critical to ensuring that the agency's responses are relevant and deeply informed by local experience. Partnering with DEO is a great way to stay connected and informed when disasters occur. DEO will add you to a distribution list so that you may receive the latest weather updates and emergency notifications during a disaster through maps, trackers, and updated website information. DEO is the lead agency for emergency support function known as ESF 18, which provides customer service to businesses before, during, and after. We believe that businesses play a critical role in community resilience and that coordination with the private sector is integral to effective emergency management. It is our goal to get funds flowing through a disaster area as quickly as possible. This requires working with a diverse group of stakeholders, including businesses of all sizes. On the big business side, we work with the human services teams to ensure shelters have access to emergency supplies from companies like Publix and Walmart. We work with hotel and local business organizations to determine where disaster relief personnel can find lodging, and we maintain strong partnerships to provide emergency temporary lodging. We also coordinate with rideshare partners such as Uber and Lyft to ensure get to shelters safely. On the small business side, economic recovery requires a strong network of local emergency managers, economic development organizations, chambers of commerce, offices of tourism, local government, and major employers. ESF 18 works to strengthen these relationships by building relationships with partners at the city and county level. ESF 18 objectives are communities in Florida have an economic recovery plan, and businesses in Florida have a continuity plan and are a part of the ESF 18 network. Our website, www.floridadisaster.biz, is a hub for small to obtain emergency response information. By providing information about preparedness resources, current disaster updates, and access to recovery programs, we support the private sector during emergencies so that they can make the best decisions for their employees and business operations. One of the website's tools is the Business Damage Assessment Survey, which collects damage information from local businesses, which is used when the Division of Emergency Management applies for federal assistance. Following a disaster, we work with the Small Business Administration and the Division of Emergency Management to ensure business recovery centers have information about all available programs to assist economic recovery efforts. We are always looking for new partners, and as your agencies interact with the private sector and small business organizations, do not hesitate to send them our way. The phases of a disaster lifecycle describe the process through which we prepare for emergencies and disasters, respond to them when they occur, help people and institutions recover from them, mitigate their effects, and reduce the risk of loss. The first phase is preparedness. Preparedness is an ongoing process in which individuals, communities, businesses, and organizations can plan and train for what they'll do in the event of a disaster. Preparedness is defined by ongoing training, evaluation, and corrective action to ensure the highest level of readiness. Phase 2 is response, which is what happens after a disaster occurs. It involves both short and long-term responses. The third phase in the cycle is recovery, which includes both short-term and long-term efforts. For example, some areas in New Orleans have yet to fully recover from Hurricane Katrina in 2005. Recovery involves stabilizing the area and restoring essential community functions. Recovery requires prioritization. First, essential services like food, clean water, utilities, transportation, and healthcare will be restored, with less essential services being prioritized later. Ultimately, this stage is about helping individuals, communities, businesses, and organizations return to normal or a new normal, depending on the impact of the disaster. The mitigation phase is our last and final step. Your agency may be called upon to engage in this process. If so, you will need to develop strategies and structural changes that can help mediate potential threats. Spreading awareness is also critical, as community members must be made aware of the steps they can take to prepare for all contingencies. If done correctly, mitigation can reduce the impact of the next emergency, disaster, or crisis. Now we will discuss the role community action agencies have in the disaster management cycle. First, having a continuity of operations plan is key so that in the event of an emergency, a community action agency can resume essential functions quickly. You can find the disaster planning toolkit on www.floridadisaster.biz, the website we've provided and referred to earlier, to help you create a continuity of operations plan. In addition to ensuring your ability to continue your own operations following an emergency, another way that CAAs can assist people in a disaster situation is to partner with other organizations within their area to develop a network of agencies and businesses that will coordinate their actions to assist these populations while recovering from a disaster. The response to a disaster can be more effective when community organizations work together. By planning ahead and partnering with other local organizations during non-emergency times, CAAs can help their communities be better prepared for and better able to respond to emergencies. Secondly, CAAs can play a critical role when a disaster strikes. They can respond quickly, allocate resources equitably, and are highly sensitive to local community needs. This part of their role is only the beginning. CAAs continue to play an ongoing and essential role in providing services, supporting residents in applying for government aid, and responding to rapidly changing conditions. Most importantly, they maintain lasting relationships with those in need, relationships that extend far beyond the scope of a single intervention, such as a rental assistance payment. Disasters will happen again, and these lasting relationships are key to community resiliency and security. Neighborhoods that are best equipped to mobilize quickly have deep social networks with strong community groups ready to step up when needed. The services that CAAs provide, bring housing is safe and stable to connecting residents to services, are often the primary support that residents can access. Now, at this time, I'll pass it over to the very talented Chief Debbie Smiley, who will provide a CAA's direct involvement in immediate relief efforts.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary. We have shared the overarching reasons why your organizations are strategically positioned to share in DEO's mission for collaborative and integrated disaster response. Now, let's discuss what activities you can do to prepare for a disaster event. In many communities, CAAs have historically served as a central point for community-based services. Your agency has the ability to tap into community partnerships and resources to support other relief efforts and to reach low-income people such as those in areas of concentrated poverty who may lack transportation to access emergency and short-term recovery support, and others who may not otherwise have access to immediate services. Using the CSBG, LIHEAP, and WAP resources, CAAs are encouraged to support families in accessing local, state, and federal relief, including exercising the block grant flexibility to address emergency needs. CSBG funded CAAs that have operating or that operable facilities may support supervised access to those facilities, including kitchens, rest and napping areas, computer labs, bathrooms, laundry facilities, and power source recharging phones and other communication needs. Even if your facilities are inoperable or compromised for immediate support services, CAA program staff can support families in meeting their basic needs, including nutrition, health and mental health support, and in sharing information regarding alternate or supplementary non-governmental and nonprofit organizations for immediate aid.
Thank you, Chief Smiley. Now we will hear from Frankie Hernandez, our CSBG program manager, who will discuss specific grant flexibilities that will enable you to determine the services you may be able to provide before, during, and after a disaster.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary Malnick. CSBG funds can be used for a wide range of expenses to support services and strategies provided to low-income families addressing needs directly resulting from the impact of a weather event or a disaster and cannot otherwise be reimbursable through Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, private insurance, or any other private or public funding source. In order for the client to be eligible to receive CSBG benefits, they must live in the impacted area served by the CAA. The maximum benefit per household is $10,000 for expenses incurred as a result of the impact of a natural event or a disaster. Benefits under this guidance do not waive eligibility criteria. All services provided using CSBG funding must still be permissible expenditures under the CSBG Act. Permissible services include, but are not limited to, food assistance, medical supplies, the purchase of generators, debris removal, personal documentation, and contractor costs to repair electric wiring or gas lines, just to name a few. In a disaster, CAAs may consider circumstances where individuals have become low income by the disaster, including disaster-related unemployment, and may establish appropriate procedures based on individual and family needs. If a displaced individual or family does not have eligibility documentation in hand, emergency procedures may include flexibility in accepting signed statements from the family attesting to necessary eligibility information pending availability of necessary documents allowing the CAAs to meet immediate emergency needs.
Thank you, Frankie. Next, Matt Treadwell, who is the department's LIHEAP Community Program Manager, will discuss the LIHEAP program when related to disaster response.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary. Before, during, and after a disaster, temporary additions to LIHEAP program policy will be authorized by DEO for a prescribed period of time. A maximum of $2,000 per approved applicant household will be authorized for use from budgeted weather-related supply shortage cost category of standard allocation, also known as formula LIHEAP fund. Following a disaster, CAAs may consider circumstances where individuals have been made low income by the disaster, including disaster-related unemployment, and may establish appropriate procedures based on individual and family needs. If a displaced individual or family does not have the eligibility documentation in hand, emergency procedures may include flexibility in accepting signed statements from the family, attesting to necessary eligibility information pending availability of necessary documents, allowing the CAA to meet immediate emergency needs. The following activities are considered allowable uses of LIHEAP funds to deal with crisis situations, particularly with respect to assistance for home energy related needs resulting from a hurricane or other natural disaster. Client relocation, temporary housing and shelter, with temporary housing including hotels or motels, no Airbnb nor VRBO rentals, or an apartment. Transportation costs to move individuals away from a crisis situation to temporary housing and shelter, generator purchase, electrical power cable connection, insulation repair, and contractor costs to repair electrical wiring or gas lines. Repair or replacement costs for furnaces and or air conditioning units, and utility reconnection costs and utility box replacement.
Thank you, Matt. Last but not least, we have Alma Valencia, who serves as the department's WAP program manager. Alma will provide a brief overview on the WAP program.
Thank you, Deputy Secretary. WAP grant funds have a very limited role in any disaster response. Disaster-related activities that may be considered but will require prior approval from DEO include the following. Debris removal at a dwelling unit so that the dwelling can be weatherized. Protection or secure storage of local subrecipient weatherization files, records, and office equipment during the initial phase of the disaster response. Securing weatherization materials, tools, equipment, and weatherization vehicles. Weatherization personnel can be paid to perform functions related to protecting these Department of Energy investments. Additionally, weatherization vehicles and/or equipment may be used to help assist in disaster relief, provided WAP is reimbursed in accordance with Title II CFR 200.
Thank you, Alma. Do you think your organization is ready right now for a disaster? Would you be ready in the case of a disaster this summer in hurricane season? Florida's community action agencies can make the biggest difference because they provide a direct link to the local community in a number of ways. knowing the unique attributes of the community and the people to whom they provide services, providing a bridge for communication, service provision, and problem solving, being a trusted resource, and offering community connections and local resources that can enhance response and recovery effectiveness. We encourage you to value the strength of your organization and its ability to provide services in times of emergency. Recognize these strengths and make plans to utilize them when needed. Floridians in your community are relying on your services. By increasing your organization's ability to be prepared, you are strengthening the capacity of your entire community to respond to emergencies and enhance the recovery process, both for the clients you serve and the community as a whole. We challenge you to create an inclusive plan that will strengthen your community's ability to withstand an emergency and recover quickly. Below is a list of resources available to assist with emergency preparedness planning. The statewide emergency management contacts, the CSBG quick facts flyer, LIHEAP quick facts flyer, the policy and procedural changes appended to LIHEAP manual, and the policy and procedural changes appended to the CSBG manual. And of course, these resources will be provided and sent out through email following the webinar. At this time, we will open the floor for questions. Allison, do we have any questions?
Yes, sir, we do. The main question is, will this information be shared after this webinar?
Absolutely. Good question. We will be emailing this promised information this afternoon to the entire Community Action Network.
As well as the webinar itself and the recording will be made available to the Community Action Network.
Right. Another question we have are, what are some of the requirements for the CAA during a weather event or disaster?
Yeah, well, in the event of a disaster, before, during, and after, we are asking the CAAs to assess the unmet needs of households within the affected service area. Target the top identified needs for which your funds will be used. Then third, determine that all households receiving services are program eligible, and then keep track of services provided and the amount per services that has been issued.
And another question is, will DEO provide additional funding to support the hurricane response activities of our agency?
Thanks, Allison. I'm sure many of our CAAs have that question. So DEO encourages all subrecipients to reassess your direct client services and your budget to align with the current need presented by the disaster. DEO is prepared to assist subrecipients to reallocate your existing funding to cover identified need through the client services budget category if necessary. And of course, you'll be working closely with your contract manager to execute that. After a statewide assessment, DEO will prioritize agency requests for additional funding based on the immediate exigency and provide budget support if additional funding is available.
There are no more questions in the chat.
And of course, everyone feel free, if you think of something, some lingering question, you can always email me and or one of your community program managers, and we'll be happy to assist you.
If you'd like to learn more or stay up to date on any of the programs discussed today, please visit the department's website at www.floridajobs.org or email any questions you might have to debbiesmiley@deo.myflorida.com. This concludes the presentation portion of our webinar. DEO District Secretary Dane Eagle and I, along with our whole team, that would like to thank all of you for joining today. And we'd like to thank you for your future participation and the great work that you have done and will continue to do for Florida. So thank you for continuing our partnership.